I'm Austin Johnson, and this is Wgem News Now for the 10 a.m. hour. Residents are speaking out, seeking protection for tenants. At last night's City Council meeting, they say no action was taken after voters' approval of a non-binding referendum, and in April 2025, that referendum, Q. Ryle called for more regulations for rental properties in addition to a rental registration and inspection program. Q. Ryle supporters claim the city has not done enough to protect renters. They argued there is not enough accountability in the current ordinances to prevent landlords from neglecting their properties and the well-being of renters.
Tenants deserve a safe and habitable homes, while landlords deserve reasonable expectations and the ability to operate within reason.
And some attendees question how adding new laws would help if laws on the books already aren't being enforced to stop bad behavior.
So adding another layer of laws, I don't see how that's going to be effective in helping tenants or helping landlords.
While Q. Ryle was passed by voters, no action on it has been taken yet. The referendum was non-binding, meaning city officials are not required to act on it. Also, the council approved resolutions for 2 solar properties on South 12th Street and Needers Lane. Initially, the council voted against the resolutions by a vote of 7-7 with 1 abstention. However, after realizing that denial meant no ordinance would be drafted to better look at the project, the council reversed course to approve the resolution, but emphasized they would still have to have 3 readings to approve the ordinance. Now, the Quincy Public School Board will hold a special meeting today to discuss whether to dismiss 2 tenured teachers. The meeting agenda shows that today the board plans to discuss 2 resolutions regarding the suspension and dismissal of a tenured teacher. The meeting starts at noon at the Board of Education office at 14th and Main. Lee County economic development officials are sharing the details on their community's housing needs. A handful of housing study presentations throughout the county. Update to a data set last collected in 2017. The Lee County Economic and Development Group president says their prior housing needs study findings are valuable to residents.
So the study shows that we need about 500 housing units in Lee County in the next several years, which is a pretty large addition from the amount of housing stock we've added over the last few recent years. There's about 90 pages of data. So we look at everything from in-migration and out-migration trends in the county, different age demographics, as well as the age of housing stock and condition of housing stock to come up with the final numbers of the community need.
Benjamin says the studies also allow the county to learn which forms of housing would benefit the area before applying for grants and community programs. Volunteers are providing more help to local veterans with community members, American Legion, VFW, and others supporting their move to a new facility at the veterans' home. Yesterday, the American Legion helped with totes, and today the VFW will help move furniture. The new facility at the Illinois Veterans Home in Quincy includes an independent and skilled nursing facility totaling nearly 300 rooms. Participants say moving the veterans is the culmination of years of effort to improve housing. And Missouri officials say the state is seeing a growth in apprenticeship programs. Apprenticeship program manager says there's plenty of the options within manufacturing and now also fields including healthcare, education, and tech. She says people as young as 16 can start training for a career in an apprenticeship, and the state, they aim to serve 100,000 apprentices across the state by next September. Quincy's Lorenzo Bull House is set to be underway to remove carpet and restore its hardwood floors. The president of the Friends of Lorenzo Bull House say the Park District takes care of the outside of the house, but little has been done to the inside for many years. He says it was time for some changes to be made. Now that work is expected to be finished by the end of the month. The 988 mental health hotline is getting more support in Illinois. A new law expands access to suicide prevention services, and lawmakers say 988 information should be visible in county shelter care homes, daycares, public libraries, and other locations. It is also requires the State Board of Education to make age-appropriate suicide prevention curriculum available for school districts and for the DOC to provide support for people living prison. Here's a look at headlines from around the nation and around the world today. Russia attacked Ukrainian cities with missiles, drones, and glide bombs Tuesday, killing at least 10 civilians. Officials said as President Zelensky said Moscow is getting more North Korean help to extend its 4-year invasion. Now, Zelensky also said more North Korean troops are deploying to Russia. Congo's Ebola outbreak has claimed at least 2,000 lives, making it the fastest growing on record, and government data shows 4,381 confirmed cases with a little more than 2,000 deaths. Now, the health authorities struggle to reach remote areas due to rebel conflict, bad roads, and work stoppages. Over payment issues, the president's social media company is going back to its roots. The parent of Truth Social said Monday it is abandoning several new businesses. Crypto online betting, financial services to refocus on building up its social media platform. Part of that effort is a new paid service for Wall Street traders who want to sneak peeks at the residents' market-moving posts. Search and rescue efforts have resumed in Colombia after a powerful earthquake left over 3,000 missing. Mayors and governors from 4 regions said today at least 179 people died in those 4 areas during Monday's 7.4 magnitude earthquake. You can stay up to date on those stories and more coming up on Local News Live. That's it for WGEM News at this hour. We'll be back at 3 p.m. with more. In the meantime, you can stay in the know at WGEM.com with our mobile news and smart TV apps, and by watching WGEM News at noon.